Hello everyone, welcome back. Today's my 23rd, I think, time of taking ivermectin, or if it's time, maybe it's my 24th time of taking ivermectin against parasites, of course. If you don't want to take oral medication against parasites, then you could just turn off mainstream media, and that way you avoid majority of it. My wife, obviously I need to eat a fatty meal. It's not the fattiest meal ever, but I gotta show you what she's cooked for me. Schnitzel, chicken schnitzel. It looks wonderful. So I'm gonna smear it in mayonnaise. And then in about an hour's time, I'll take my dose and record some more. Okay? I ate too much schnitzel and far too much mayonnaise, but anyway. So it's been about 2 weeks since I last took my horse medication. I've been doing ivermectin for nearly half a year. So from once a week to now once a fortnight. I'm going to carry on with this strategy of once a fortnight for a few more doses, and then I might just switch to keeping it as for emergency use. I'll go to once in 3 weeks. I'm undecided yet, but I've been surrounded by people that have had the unmentionable, and they've all been vaccinated. And I got a message from someone today in downtown Bangkok in the Silom area, and we hang out. There's a restaurant over there that we hang out in, and he said that most of the regular gang of guys all have COVID. They're all vaccinated. My German friend, who was meant to come in the beginning of November and got COVID, so he then came at the end of November. He's currently in Dubai with COVID. So he's had it twice and he's double vaccinated. So you connect the dots, you know. But what I really want to talk about today, because usually when I do my ivermectin, I go off on a rant a little bit. So why should today be any different? And my rant is really again about what is the in my perspective, what is the end game for the cabal? Because there's an underhand, there are string pullers, put it that way, puppeteers, puppet masters. It's far too coordinated, and there's far too many things that don't make any sense. For example, attacking this as a horse medication, y'all. That's one example. Another example is what's going on in Japan right now, which is their cases. So today's the 9th of January 2022. And when you look at the UK rate, it's well over 100,000 people. Israel, 7,000. Germany 90,000, and Japan 1,200, plus minus, give or take a little bit. So when you then look at per capita, England's well over 200 times more cases than Japan, and that's not newsworthy. Surely when you're looking at countries and you're looking at their rate is exploding and their rate is exploding, and surely then the exact opposite side of the coin is also newsworthy, which is, and they don't have a rate. And it's not down to vaccination, because England, certainly Israel, is more vaccinated. So I had an incident with my dentist, who's no longer my dentist, because they wouldn't treat me because of my vaccine status. which honestly is none of their business. And they'll only take people who have proof of vaccination, yet alone, let's say a negative test, which is just playing into the hands of this controlling cabal. And my reaction was like, well, people with that still spread it. It doesn't make sense. There's no science. Fascist Fauci, he says he is the science. No, he is the fascist. And he's a useful tool, useful idiot for these puppet masters. So if you watch the Joe Rogan podcast with Robert Malone, the supposed, according to Wikipedia, it's now being changed, inventor of mRNA vaccines, Robert Malone touches on many different things, including Uttar Pradesh, somewhere in India, where they were giving out medications to prevent the spread. So it wasn't as a treatment for recovery, it was prophylactic, which is what I'm taking my ivermectin. And that Medi had met with Biden and they've kept it a secret as to what is in the medical kits, which is shocking. Because surely you'd want to look at that as like a test bed to see what the outcomes are and possibly copy or improve on it. So all of these politicians are all utterly corrupt. And Robert Malone mentioned about following the money, and it's the same investors in the pharmaceuticals, that's in the food, that's into the pesticides, that's in mass media. And obviously lobby governments. And I was having a conversation with my beloved grandmother, who's 90 years old. She's a short, fat potato with asthma that you wouldn't have thought would live over 66. And God bless her, she's 90, she's still around. And I can talk with her, aggravate her a little bit, tease her a little bit, because she needs some excitement in her life. And I think she understands that she loves me dearly, and but I challenge her way of thinking on things, because she hears the same things from all the other family members. They all are lockstep, sheeples. The government loves them, big farmers doing it for the love of humanity, and whatever else. And I challenged her and I said, so why would they not talk about Japan on the news? Because she talked to me about England, she talked to me about America, she talked to me about France. So she seems to be aware about so many other nations. She doesn't live in any of those. Yet she doesn't know anything about Japan. Why would that not be news? And she can't answer the question. But it's a sincere question. There is an answer to it. Now, you can't prove the answer, but if you have common sense and logic, i.e., a functioning brain cell, you can reach a reasonable answer, as horrific as it is. Now, I'm watching World War II in colour with my kids, so they can see the cruelty, the barbarism, and that they can understand other historical events that were horrific. That they can understand mass hypnosis, mass psychosis. it's important to be able to recognize that even though these things sound absurd, even though these things that sound evil, that on its own doesn't mean that it's not true. Evil exists. And a lot of the evil ever done, ever committed, was in a veil of righteousness. The war against ivermectin, and let's throw into that hydroxychloroquine. The war against the free speech under the banner of vaccine hesitancy. So even truth on adverse events, speaking of those truths, could cause some people to be hesitant. Even the truths that the unmentionable is not a big threat to certain age groups, that on it would also cause some vaccine hesitancy. So these discussions are forbidden, not allowed. So the war on freedom of speech, not just freedom of expression, and freedom of thought, but freedom of discussion on the merits, on the facts, on the science, and tyranny. So that's why I call fascist Fauci a fascist, because it's his science or no science. And I didn't know that science was licensed out to one individual, the Führer Fauci. So yeah, I honestly believe that Bill Gates is getting into farming. You know, they've been talking about shooting exploding particles into the ozone that would reduce the UV of the sun and reduce the global temperatures. I mean, people that think up of things like that are sick in the brain. And normally they would be put into an institution and locked up for life. There's that movie, the core or something. I don't remember, when the core of the planet stopped spinning and they created like a submarine that goes through to the core of the earth. Okay, that's got some. Anyway, the reason the core stopped spinning was because they'd invented a technology in the movie where they could cause earthquakes at other parts of the planet. So it was to be used as like a weapon against an enemy nation. And they experimented with it and it went wrong and caused the core to stop spinning. Well, firing rockets into the ozone to spread particles to reduce supposed human-caused global warming isn't just narcissistic, it's psychotic. To talk about population projections, especially when you're the sun, you need to look into the Gates family. So that's why I call Billy eugenics Bill. If you look into his family, you'll understand why I call him Eugenics Bill. And when someone who grew up in a household as he did talks about global population needing to be reduced from the projected 9 billion by 2050 to be 5 billion. That's 2 billion less than today's population, but a total of 4 billion less than the projected population. And when he hold seminars and openly YouTube. He said it himself. It's not me saying it. Wants to see the global population be reduced through means of better healthcare, vaccines. What's the term they use to make abortion, murder of the unborn, sound like women's reproductive health? Use of women's reproductive health and vaccines, we can achieve the goal. Whose goal is it, Billy? You know, the Davos, 3,000 of the world's elites, who look at the China model, where it's around 964 families controlling 1.4 billion people. So they look at that, the World Economic Forum, and obviously to control 5 billion is less difficult than to control 9 billion. Especially with the advent of AI is going to make 1 billion or more unemployable. So they've come up, the Davos, right? I forget the Nazis' name. I mean, the Germans' name from the EU, who said, "You'll own nothing and be happy." Well, they're talking about you and me. You, we will own nothing. They will own everything, right? Again, every coin has a flip side. So the flip side of us owning nothing is that they will own everything by 2030. So back in January of 2020, I quit politics completely for my sanity. Even the Epoch Times, okay, I unsubscribed from everything, Dan Bongino, just everything. I unsubscribed from it all, stopped watching it all. I started to learn about aquaponics and hydroponics, and I'm trying to do something in my own home to do with both of those farming techniques. But I also started to learn about economics and investment and inflation and hedge and gold and crypto, right? Because I want to be more self-sufficient. So part of that is not just having my own food supply, but also to be debt-free. So I took an interest in those things, and instead of spending 2-3 hours a day on politics, I invested my time in those topics, and so many predictions throughout 2021. Sorry, it's not 2020. 2021, January 2021, I quit politics. So it's just over a year that I've quit politics, and I've been learning these other subjects. And in the economic side of things, there's doom and gloom and projections of hyperinflation and all of this stuff, and talking about the Fed in America, Federal Reserve. And the one common theme that I've found is that they're all talking about the Federal Reserve like it's some kind of rational entity that's stuck between a hard place and a rock, and is maybe making the right decisions or the wrong decisions, and that you can argue over. But no matter what the perspective, it's that they are coming from, that they are rational, that they are behaving within a system that's for longevity. Well, according to the Davos, the 2030 you'll own nothing. Why would you then trust the Federal Reserve, and why would you think that they're coming from a rational? Because how they're going to reach their endpoint? I mean, they want that we will own nothing and be happy, and there'll be less of us. and that we will, what's it called? Oslo syndrome. When you fall in love with your kidnapper. I'm useless, but it's on the tip of my tongue. Doesn't matter. The point is that we will, love them who own everything and give us the free healthcare and the free home and the free food and the 3D virtual reality that's a non-reality. And we won't have to work, and we'll all be on our drugs and fentanyl and whatever else, or busy fighting each other according to our gender or sexual preferences, or even age group, which is probably the next one, and certainly ethnicity, right? And too distracted to question the ruling elites. But how are they going to reach that point if we are prosperous? You're not going to give up your S-Class Mercedes and 7 Series and Porsche and your Chanel, right? And being able to book cruise ships and staying in a 5-star hotel, because obviously not everyone that's in the 1% can afford those things, or is in a company that provides those things. Well, they've got to cause, in my opinion, an economic collapse like something that's never been seen. Never ever been seen. So that, in my opinion, projecting to the future, that's what we've got to look forward to, is an economic collapse, the kind of which we've never ever seen. So you're all going to lose your homes. All of you have a mortgage, even a credit card. Okay, if you've got a large credit card debt and your house is paid off, and the value of your house goes to zero. So they'll do like an exchange. Okay, we'll write off all your debts for all your assets, and then you can live in your assets freely, so long as you behave. For me, connecting the dots of, another example is COVID rates. So hospitalizations. You go in for a broken toe, they test you for the unmentionable, and you're positive, and you're recorded as a hospitalization. You die of a gunshot wound to the brain, but in the previous 30 days you tested positive. Your unmentionable death. And flu all of a sudden didn't exist in 2020 and most of 2021. So these things are not by coincidence, and certainly not by coincidence when you say it's across every major nation, which means that it's unquestionable that they are controlled. And if they are controlled in this way, what is the objective? Well, I believe that you should look no further, like I say, than the World Economic Forum, the Davos, and all of you who would like younger people and servicemen who are patriots and want to protect your country. Well, what is your country should be protected against? Tyranny, foreign and domestic. So you make of that what you will, but where is your enemy? Who is the enemy? And I don't see any politician as being able to break us out of the system, because they're all playing within the system. I think you get my drift. I don't believe in. I believe in conspiracies, and the conspiracy is that what I'm saying is a conspiracy theory. That is a conspiracy against us all. That we're not allowed to have this is a conspiracy against us. That children are made to have this is a conspiracy against us. That this 2 times has to be boosted. What do you call the 4th one? Because the 3rd one's the booster. What word are they going to invent for the 4th one? But this is it. This is why I got upset with my grandmother, because next week she's off for a 4th one. And I said to her, why? She says, because she's scared of the unmentionable. She's scared of it. And she's happy also. Another family member had jabbed their 7-year-old son, and she's over the moon by that. And she can't believe I won't do it to my 7-year-old daughter. What the Japanese people believed during the Second World War about themselves vis-a-vis Asians, and during the battles with the American forces about Americans. And you look at the Japanese today, and it's difficult to imagine that that was their mentality. And if you don't know, they believed that, just like the Germans, that they were a superior race, that the emperor was a living god, and that the Americans were mongrels. And they were willing to die to the death and take down civilians, and women and children included in civilians, and keep them as human shields. And if I, as a serviceman, am willing to die, then they should be willing to die with me. And that was the mentality. And when you understand that, even though it's difficult to comprehend that mentality was the case. That is what existed due to the brainwashing. So don't be thinking that today we're immune to that. We're obviously not immune to that. And the controlling elites know that very, very well. And as a patriot, as a freedom-loving person, you must fight back with this. Not this, but this. And give it to them as hard and as much and as ugly as they give it to you. Even if you've had this, but you did it under coercion and you'd rather not have done, or you did it because you are sincerely afraid for yourself, but you still recognize that it shouldn't be, that it should be a personal choice. And that you appreciate that freedom of speech is paramount. Fight back for it. Because those that want to shut us down are the enemy and will result in more casualties and unnecessary deaths than this is appearing to be resulting. We don't know how many people, how many teenagers and young children are going to develop lifelong illnesses. We don't know about the effects on the immunity and about the reproductive system as a percentage of those that receive the shots. We don't know. So anyone who says it's safe is a complete and utter liar, and you should call them out as such. Right. Here we go. So just to prove that I am either a horse or taking something that's for humans, and the fact that after 24 times, it's not been lethal to me. Obviously, consult the WHO, the CDC, the FDA, your local health authority. If you've got parasites or river blindness. I'm taking the labeled dosage, 0.2 milligram per kilo of body weight. So my tablets are 6 milligrams times 3, it's 18 milligrams. Like I say, once a fortnight. I've got zinc, vitamin C, and you should be taking zinc and vitamin C in any case every day, and vitamin D, especially if you're not getting out enough. So there's the C, and fish oil, which has the vitamin D, and it's my last one. So yeah, consult them. Do not go to frontline doctors, okay? Don't go to DuckDuckGo and search for FLCCC Alliance and read up about their recommendations relating to this, and hydroxy also. Don't look at, here, the Google, why I said DuckDuckGo, not that they're much better, but they're less bad, I guess, is I tried to look at consumption of ivermectin in Japan. And guess what comes up? Fact check. Japan has not chosen ivermectin over vaccination. Fact check. Japan still vaccinates. Fact check. Japan is vaccinating, not relying on horse medication. Articles nothing to do with the specific question. I just want to know how many doses of this has been sold or given out in Japan since August of 2021. And I'm scrolling down and down and down, and I can't find what I'm looking for. Instead, I find brainwashing. Because you always say to people, don't you? You say, oh, this is this and that is that, and if you don't believe me, Google it. Speak up. Don't worry about offending anyone. Because the people we're talking about that you're worried about offending aren't worried about offending you. That's it. Keep well, keep safe. Hope you can manage your own health. Keep fit. Stay off the junk. Stop eating sausages. You should look into why are chicken sausages, okay? Chicken is a white meat. Why are they pink? Stop it. I have. Wear your masks.